Welcome back to 60 Plus Uncensored. I'm your host, Seb Fry, and my guest today is Curtis Golden. He runs Senior Savvy, and for 14 years, he's been doing something beautifully simple. He shows up, he sits down, and teaches older adults how to actually use technology that's supposed to make their lives better. Phones, tablets, TVs, smart home gadgets, routers, printers, all of it. He calls himself an electronic life consultant, and I think that might be the most important job title today that nobody's ever heard of. So without any further ado, let's get into it. All right, Curtis, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you making the time to join me here on 60 Plus Uncensored. You know, your name is not exactly, a household name in America yet. So maybe if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about yourself.
All right. First of all, very nice to be here with you, Seb. Thanks for having me. Uh, Truly, it's going to be a good experience. I really been looking forward to this and meeting with all the people here that we're going to be doing this. I started in LA. I'm an LA transplant and have been in the computer business now since 1976. So if you remember punch cards and all the fun stuff there, I'm aging myself, but there we are. This is what I've been doing. I moved up to the Silicon Valley in 1985, and I've been working in the Valley for about 40 years. And then in 2012, I decided my body still works, and I wanted to address a population of people with the skills that I have gained, helping them. They're the most underused population, the most what's the right word?
Underserved.
Served. That's a good one. Thank you. For the technology today, it's outrageous, and a lot of seniors are very afraid. I found a real niche here. I got lucky. I decided this was a good business to start working on, and lo and behold, here I am 14 years later and having a wonderful time.
So you're an LA guy, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So what brought you to Silicon Valley in the first place?
Well, I started in the tech business in LA, and I worked pretty hard at it, but wasn't getting very far and wasn't making the dramatic strides I really wanted to make in the business. And people were telling me, if you want to do that, you have to go where the inventors are, where the whole industry works, and that's here in Silicon Valley. So, yeah, in 1985, I threw everything I had into one car and came up to Silicon Valley and started working here. And it's been very, very a rewarding experience. I consider part of it luck, part of it skill, but mostly it's been something that I've truly held dear to me because I've just met so many great people and learned so many new technologies.
Well, that's interesting. So, I don't know if you know this, you probably don't know this, but I used to be a tech guy, actually,
Oh,
and I was a techie. And so let me ask you this. What technology were you working with in 1985 and that you continue working with for a long time? Can be a little bit about, tell me are we talking like IBM mainframes or VAXs or like Unix machines or PCs or what were you working on?
right. So when I started, I remember an incident where a supervisor of mine just came in and dropped these two massive heavy boxes on my desk. Turns out it was a 286 PC, if you remember that.
Yeah.
And he just said, unbox it, turn it on, and figure it out. I said, okay, where are the manuals for this thing? And he said, there isn't one. You have to write it. And that was the beginning of what I am doing today, all because of that. Because when I worked on PCs and printers and keyboards and mice and all the peripherals that are on the PC, I gained a great level of imparting a message to people. What it is, why we're using it, and how to use it to your advantage. And I started just tech writing and then technical instruction and then a lot of technical support, classes, teaching, that type of thing, working with people who wanted to understand this but couldn't. And the engineers, as bright as they were, could not explain it very well. And that's when I came in. And it's been a real, like I said, a gift that I could be able to take this techno language and put it into English where everybody gets it. And so I was working mostly on end user support, PCs, Macs, that type of thing, web development. Hmm.
Interesting. So 286. So back in the day, I worked at the used computer store in Berkeley, California, and when I was working there, we had 286s. They were like 286, 386, 486, Pentium, right? I
And
mean,
yeah, yeah, these are
Windows
all,
95. Those were the good old days, huh?
yeah,
All
yeah,
of that stuff.
yeah.
So you weren't really working on like VAXs or mainframes or any of that. You were desktop network work group kind of deal. So did you actually like were you in the development side at all, or the engineering side at all, or you were just always customer facing?
I was in the background as well, yes, because when these devices started to fail or even never worked, one of the jobs I was tasked with in many cases was to uncover the mistakes, write up the symptoms, and see if I can figure out what's going on in the background that's keeping this thing from functioning. Of course, I'd work with the engineering staff, and they'd say, well, there's processes going on or there's instruction sets that are not being validated. So it made for a very tough situation. I remember once a 10 key, little additional 10 key with a RS-232 interface. Remember those?
Oh, sure
Yeah,
do. Oh yeah.
you had, well, they never worked. And it was my job to either explain why it didn't work or how we can utilize it in some other fashion to make it acceptable for the population.
Well, that must be very helpful, that background with what we have going on today, right? Because, technology, on the one hand, has gotten a lot simpler, right? I mean, like, God bless Steve Jobs, right? He always had the idea that, like technology would be like an appliance. It wouldn't be something like back in the 286, 386, 46 days where you would like open the case up and like start swapping in components, right? I think he realized a long time ago that for mass adoption, that was never going to work, right? Like grandma and grandpa are not going to be like swapping out, like RAM chips and like, doing hard drive upgrades. And that
Right,
was
right.
never the idea really at Apple. And then of course you have like, these things, iPhones, and it's, everything's become like an appliance, but at the same time, while the hardware has become a lot more reliable and a lot more powerful and a lot simpler, the software has become, like exponentially uh, more powerful, and like like it does so many more things than we ever could have thought of like 30 years ago, or even really 5 years ago at this point, right? I mean, like it's just sort of accelerating so much lately.
Mhm.
What are the kinds of things that you find today that like older adults tend to have the most problem with with their like devices and all that?
Yeah. I think it's to begin with, it's the presentation of the product. Um, who's introducing these products to the seniors? Their kids, their grandkids, people who just are so excited about something, they don't have to explain it, they just know it inherently. The seniors don't. And what happens is there's a fear, if you will, that grows within them, and that keeps them at bay. That almost pushes them away. My job is to come in and take that fear out. So what I do is make sure that they're breathing, that they're embracing these things in the right vision, with the right vision, so that they can start to see what enhancements it can bring to their life. So the iPhone was certainly one big accessory that just changed and revolutionized our whole industry, and it further disconnected that population from everybody else because they didn't understand. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right. Okay. And so, do you find that like most seniors are like using their iPhone exclusively, like in terms of technology, or do they still use like desktop PCs? Like, what are people actually using these days?
They're using both, Seb. There really are. Many of my clients now have said, "Oh, I remember when I worked on these PCs or these Macs, and I was fine with it until things got too complicated." And then the phone came out, of course, and the important part here was just to show them that you really can't hurt them. and they can't hurt you if you know how to use them. And it can be really, really life changing. So let's go ahead and delve into the phone, and let's go ahead, and they're embracing these phones more and more now, at least with my clients, that's for sure. But with that comes the pitfalls, scams, avoidance, passwords, all this thing that adds that other layer that just adds a whole new level of complexity.
All right. Well, I want to talk to you about the scams because that's really important. But what do people mostly use their, like older adults? What do they mostly use their technology for? Are they mostly
Hmm.
emailing or surfing or watching YouTube, or like what are they what
Well,
mostly using their devices for?
you're hitting some good points there. Yes. Most of the use is to connect with others, which is life changing. That's the biggest premise of their whole use of these phones is to connect. And what they're doing now is they're calling their neighbors, they're texting and FaceTiming. The pandemic was the absolute quintessential example of how these devices can improve your life, their lives. Because when they were locked into apartments, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't go anywhere. Well, I came along and showed them how to use their phones and how to use Zoom and collaboration software. And all of a sudden, they're together again. They're connected. So, to answer your question, emails, texting, any form of communication. Brain games are a big winner. They do a lot of gaming with it, but not the type of gaming like GTA 5 and all that. It's more like, crossword puzzles and listening to books. It just gets limitless. The music, the visits to museums, and things they can do on their screens opens up a whole new world for them and keeps them happier.
Right. Well, that's interesting. So, like I use technology a lot, right? Do you think like how much does the average client that you have, are they on their devices like 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, or is it really just like half hour here, half hour there? What's the usage pattern like?
Yeah, the usage pattern has definitely been average. They're not on it like you and I. That's not. But I'll tell you what, whenever I do meet with a client or whenever I run into them, wherever I am, they are having a phone in their possession. One of the things I teach is how this phone can speak for you when you can't. So there are medical IDs, there's emergency software on there that they can use in case they get into trouble. And I push that and they accept it. And now they know they have a companion with them. So they're not using it for research. They're not using it to find out what the latest fashions are, that type of thing. But they are being entertained. A few have even used it for mapping. Those who are driving still are using the map functions, things like that. But mostly email, phone, text.
All right. Okay. But you mentioned something very interesting there, like the emergency, response. Like, are there certain apps that people are using for that kind of stuff? Like, what are some of the older adult, like I don't use that personally yet. I'm not in that place yet. But like, what are some of the apps that like seniors might want to have on their phones
Right.
for that kind of
Well,
thing?
the good news here is that the emergency app is already built in. First responders know this. If I were to fall on the sidewalk today and become unconscious, a first responder will know how to pick up the phone. They don't know my PIN. They don't have my facial recognition yet. If they press the power button and can't log in, they'll see the word emergency in the lower left corner. Tap that word emergency, they get a dialer for 911. But on top of that, there is also a link for your medical ID. Once a year, I work with my seniors to make sure that they have their medical IDs filled out, their names, addresses, prescriptions, allergies, conditions. All this allows first responders to see the state of the person and what's going on in their body. So now they have something talking for them when they can't. And this is invaluable. It's life saving. Absolutely. So it's built right into the phone. I don't know if you knew that or not, but try opening your phone and don't look at it and look in the lower left corner. You'll see emergency. Try it. Fill out your medical IDs.
Medical ID. Well, you never know because, like, what if you're in a car accident, right? What if you're like incapacitated in any way? Like I just saw today on Facebook that a guy who used to work at the same tech company I did died, right? He died, and he's like 6 months younger than me, and he died, right? And like so obviously, well, I'm not obviously, but he probably has some kind of medical event, right? So like. I mean, you could be in your 30s or 40s and should have a medical ID. So I'm going to go here my settings. So where do I find medical? Like I have an
Okay,
iPhone.
so if you're in your settings, you go down to the bottom called apps.
Oh, here it goes. Medical ID. Okay,
Yes,
show when locked.
and you can actually I really push all my clients and classes to fill out this form. There it is. You have it. You have it. Now, can you imagine the value if you couldn't speak for whatever reason, and some stranger or somebody who is in the position of helping you see that information? They learn so much about you, including emergency contacts.
Right, right. Yeah, okay. So it says show when locked. Okay, so my phone is locked right now. Where do I
Okay.
see the medical ID on here? I don't.
Open up your phone, and but you have to swipe up. It can't recognize you, so you're going to have to look away
Oh,
because you've
okay.
got facial recognition. But if you look
Oh,
away
yeah.
and it says emergency, if you tap emergency,
Oh,
you will
yeah.
see, and then at the lower left there it says medical ID.
Oh, how very helpful. All right. So,
It's huge. When Apple did that, I figured no matter what they do from here on, I'm grateful because
right.
this is what seniors need.
Right. Well, that's it. So, I'd seen that before, but I always just figured it was like a 911 calling or something like that. I didn't really realize. And does Android have the same thing?
Android, it does. Typically, what they'll do is they'll have their medical ID app icon in the lower left corner as well. It won't say emergency, but it'll say medical ID or whatever. Android is a little bit less intuitive.
So, is there like a way like because a lot of times seniors live alone, right? I mean, like can first responders find like emergency contact info there? Oh, you can actually. I think I saw it. Right, emergency contact info.
It's all there, and I invite everybody not just to fill them out, but to make sure you put in every single thing you would like to say to somebody if you couldn't talk. All your conditions, all your treatments, all your whatever it is, even if it's just a fear of something, put it in. Your allergies, prescriptions, put them in there because the more they know, the quicker they can treat. Otherwise, they have to take you to the hospital, run the blood work, get the history before they can give you something.
Before
So,
they could give you a life-saving treatment, right? Do you do this kind of consultation in person, or are you doing this all over like Zoom and stuff?
no, I do very little online. Everything is in person. I teach at four different senior residential services, and I also get around to a lot of clients as well. I have them all over the Bay Area.
All over the Bay Area. Okay, so the reason I'm asking that is because like a lot of times, like I myself, I provide tech support for my parents, right? So
There you
like
go. Yeah.
sometimes it's challenging. Are there like tools that families can use to like help their older adults with like tech support? Like, is any of that stuff like built in, or what do you know about that?
You want to know what the biggest tool is, Seb? Right here, patience. The number one complaint from all my clients, senior clients, is that my kids, my grandkids, they want to help me, but they're not patient. And so the message never gets imparted well. When I go in, the first thing we do is talk about what's on their mind first, how they feel about the unit, the device they're holding, and then let's take it from there. It's really important. I had one client, I'll never forget her, wonderful lady. When I came into her home, she had a curtain or a linen thing over her computer. She would have panic attacks just by looking at it. So we started with breathing exercises, and I do that in my classes. Before you even hold it, what are you feeling? Let's breathe. Let's open up those channels of fresh air and knowledge, and then start to use it, and they become much more comfortable with it.
Right. So, but like, at Compass where I work, right, the tech support people, they have like a little app or whatever that you download on the App Store, and they send you like a link, and then they can like get on your phone and like support you remotely. Are
Mhm.
there any apps like that that are like designed for families that you're aware of, that where like, like an
Mm,
older kid can help the senior out, like manage their.
there is. They're not cheap, but they're there. Me personally, there's nothing like being in front of the person. So that's what I like. For families, um, yeah, the things like TeamViewer or Rust Desk, there's all kinds of little apps out there you can get where they can remote in. Seniors are a little fearful of that. I don't want to bust that privacy myself. But I can say for family members, you can easily share. The Apple phone has tracking so that they can know where their loved ones are all the time. Things like that can be set up. And this is something that doesn't have to be taught because once the user sets it up, it's there for them. So if the kids or grandkids will take a breath and help them set it up, then they'll know where their parents are, that type of thing, all the time.
Right. Well, speaking of that, like like Apple Watches and whatnot have like fall detection. Do you do any kind of work with like those kind of like wearable devices that help keep seniors safe?
Yes, the iWatch, big one there. It does
Yeah.
have that fall protection. That's basically the best device right there. A lot of them have that little pendant also that they wear. So that's there for them. The most important thing they have is knowing that if they fall, if they have a problem, the phone, the watch, it will all take over if it's set up right. It's all automatic. So, what I do in these classes is make sure that these settings are right so that when they do have a problem, it's there. But I do talk about the watch quite a bit.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good to know. All right. So now, Senior Savvy, besides helping people like get their devices up and running and make keep them in good working order and showing people how to use them, you do a lot of cybersecurity work to help seniors stay safe online, or is that right?
Absolutely. Scams and spams. I begin every single session, every class. I've had thousands of classes, and every one of them starts with what's been happening in your digital worlds. Have you seen any scams? Or have you been part of any spam? Let's talk about how to avoid that. And that is the opener for every single class situation. And the good news is, Seb, they're getting it, they're learning. And I do have a secret weapon that I teach them when it comes to spams. And you know what? It works.
What's the secret? Can you share the secret weapon with us, or is it a secret?
The secret weapon, it's going to be something that will probably blow your mind. Um, if you think that you opened a text message or an email and it's a scam text, what's the best thing you can do as far as avoiding a scam when you see that email or text?
Block the number.
You can do that, but there's something even before that.
I don't know. I give up. What is it?
Okay. The thing you can do, that's the best thing of all, if you're ready for this, nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. I tell them to put their hands behind their back, get their fingers off the phone, off the mouse, take a breath, because when you do nothing, they can't hurt you in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Doing nothing is the beginning of doing everything. And so by doing nothing, then you can say, now that you're breathing, now that you're thinking, and we talk about the importance of not tapping on a link, not tapping on an image, then you delete, ignore and delete, and you're safe.
Right. So, what are some of the common scams that people fall victim to that you know of?
It's almost limitless. It's everything from it's time to tune up your furnace, furnace maintenance, anything they can do to get a buck out of them is what they're the most vulnerable. So the grandson or granddaughter overseas in trouble, or the Nigerian, remember the Nigerian prince scam.
Right.
They run the gamut here, okay? They're trying anything. Maybe you've gotten a text recently, but we get them all the time where it's just like, "Hello, hey, are gonna meet you tomorrow," and you don't know who it's from. Their job is to get you to reply. I say, don't reply. Just skip it. Do nothing. You're safe. But these are the types of things: emails, scams. Your bank account is overdrawn. Click here to do this, and it just snowballs after that.
Right. So, but what about things that are not actual scams, right? That are actually like my parents, for example, almost bought solar panels for their house, right? You know, I mean,
Mhm.
like at the time they were like 80 years old, and solar panels are like a 30-year commitment, right? I mean, and also they have a small amount of roof, and you know, like it's question, and they don't use that much power to begin with, right? You know, they don't live large, right? So it's questionable
Mhm.
whether or not. I mean, that's not really fraud exactly, right? You know, but do you see, you know, like seniors falling victim to that kind of stuff?
Not as much. Some, not there are offers out there, but remember, most seniors are they're not in their home anymore. So like I said, I teach a senior residential type of thing, so cars and homes they're out of the picture. But as far as services, that comes through quite a bit. And my mantra for them on this is that, first of all, if it seems too good to be true, it is. But even more important, if it's really good news and you're not feeling that comfort in your head, heart, or gut. Those are your three checkpoints. And if you're not feeling it, delete it anyway. If it's really good news, it'll come back. But it should be up to the family members to help protect these people by saying, don't order anything online. If you see something that says, I bought something from Amazon, but I can't get through it, would you buy it for me? Or that type of thing. These are the things we're educating our seniors on. Don't do these things. And I've never known anybody to miss the publisher's clearinghouse because they deleted a text that was legit.
Right, exactly. So, but are there like particular like software packages that people can install that will help them like defend against? I mean, like are viruses still a thing and malware? I mean, like because I mean, like I mean, I don't even know. I have a Mac and iPhone. And I don't really get any of those things, but I
Right.
guess they'd exist. Are there like what antivirus softwares are Symantec, right? I mean, is that still around? I mean, like, are there things that people should install on their phones
the
to?
the PCs are the most vulnerable. I don't have a huge amount of my population works on Macs. Even a bigger portion of them are only on phones and iPads. They're pretty safe. That's the good news about them. But they can still tap or click on an image or a link and get into trouble. And so, as far as antivirus goes for Windows, I always just push what the program comes with, Defender. They'll be fine. A lot of the power is in their hands. They don't know they have the power, but they have it. So, the need for antivirus on a phone or a pad, um, I really don't push that too hard.
Right, right. So basically, it sounds like that for a lot of people, like they don't really need to buy anything. I mean, it sounds like that the operating system vendors have really built in most of the stuff that people need. I mean, there's really nothing that you need to add to your Mac or PC or iPhone these days or Android to keep yourself safe.
That's true for the most part. Typically, I'll speak to PC right now, so just these past few weeks, I've been going into a couple of clients' homes, and they have had some malware. Some of them go to websites we'd rather not talk about. They go, okay. So I get a malware bites or something like that, and run scans and find the offending files and remove them for them. That's my service, and that's what I do for them. I have never had that problem on an iPhone, an iPad, even a Mac. I mean, maybe once, if ever, that I've had to clear out a virus from a Mac or anything, and never on an iPhone. That's the beauty of it. The technology is finally getting to a place where Anybody can now enjoy it without having that fear of what's going to happen to me if I do this or that. It's pretty good as long as they learn what to react to and what not to react to. That's the key.
Right. But so like my parents, they have Macs and iPhones, but my mom called me all in a frenzy because
Yeah.
like a web page had like put up like a big JavaScript thing that looked like an actual window, and it was saying like, oh, you've been compromised, you've been breached, and it wasn't even a real thing, right? I mean, it was just a total. I'm not sure how she got to that web page, but it was like this big thing. It made it look like there was a serious. I forget what it was several years ago, but there was some serious issue. I had her take a picture with a phone and like send it to me, right? And like, and it wasn't a malware really. It was just like a scam on a website.
Yep. So again, these are PCs. And thankfully, well, or unthankfully, it's not as popular as the Macs and phones. But what I would say to them is, okay, you do have the power to deal with this. And I say, take take a finger, and I always preface any finger you want, and hold the power button down for 8 seconds. It shuts off the computer. You turn it back on. Problem gone.
That's always a good one, right? But my engineering background, oh, you have a problem, just turn it off and start up again. And
Except 99% of the time, by rebooting the device, you have solved the problem. I'm not kidding. I
right,
am not kidding you.
right. So when people call you, do you just say, "Hey, listen, before I drive across the valley, just
Yeah.
why don't you just try restarting your computer, see what
Well,
happens?"
in many cases, yes. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, I sure don't mind. I love going to see all my clients and customers. But yes, I will say if it sounds like it's something like that, where they're saying they're getting the blue screen of death or to call 1-800, your files have been frozen, all that nonsense, I say, okay, let's do one thing. And if this doesn't work, I'll get in the car and come down. Hold that power button down for 8 seconds.
Right. So, do you like have like a regular like? I mean, do you have like 100 like regular clients, or is it like always just like a one-off thing, or like you go to like a assisted living community and like you just have like 20 clients there and you make the rounds, or how is your business set up?
All of the above. I do have regular clients I see. I'll go into their home sometimes once a month, give them a lesson, check their equipment for function, that type of thing. And then I have my classes that I give. Some are twice a month, some are once a week. And typically, what will happen is following the class, the person will come and say, I'm having this problem with my computer upstairs. Would you come to my place and help me resolve the problem? So I do that too. But a lot of my clients will call me when it's on demand. They always wait for the emergency to hit. And then it's like, okay, I'll be there and when I can. That's been the hardest part of my job. I'm not the ERT anymore.
Right. Well, what kind of classes do you give? Like, what are you giving classes on?
I'm giving classes on the technology, on the phones, on the pads, on the computer use, scams and spams, creating passwords. That's a huge one still. How to create a very, very safe and hack resistant password. I cover that a lot. Doing business with your banks or financial institutions if the families aren't there for them. How do you safely get into these institutions and do your business? Um, and helping your phones and devices stay updated. That's very important too. With all these updates, you get better security. And what is a cloud? How does cloud storage work? How can I use it? Do I have to pay for extra cloud storage? What are ways we can work around it? These are the kinds of things. And oh, yes, don't forget to have fun with your device too.
That was one of the things my mom had is that they wanted to like who was it? I forget what it was. Somebody wanted to like upgrade her to like a ridiculous cloud package, right? Like whatever 100 gigabytes or something, which actually isn't that much, but she hardly has anything, right?
Right, right,
Digitally,
right.
right? She doesn't really have all that much. So, but you said that people call you and they have an emergency. So, like, what kind of emergency calls do you get?
Okay. Well, that is things just stopped working. And I would say a good 80% of those stopped working are printer problems. Yes, seniors print a lot, all their flyers and invitations and such. Printers are a real weak link in the whole process. So I'm doing a lot of printer connection and printer usage type of thing. Some people are ready to upgrade their equipment. I'll come in and they'll tell me what they do, what they want to do. I'll go out and purchase the equipment for them. I will bring it to them. I will set it up. I will install all the software and then teach them how to use this new equipment. Um, Mostly it's for when something stops working that I have to be there for them. Yeah.
Right. So you find a lot of printers are still connected with RS-232 cables, or you
No,
don't see
thank
that so much anymore.
no, thank God that's over. No, no. The hardest thing right now is everything went from USB A to USB C. So I keep a large pack of adapters with me so that when I come in, I just give them the adapter and now they're working again. Because when
Right.
they buy new stuff, A is going away, but yet their old printer has an A, their new device has a C. How do we, that type of thing. So it's just keeping them in tune with the industry specs these days can be a little bit of an issue. When Apple went from Lightning to USB-C, that type of thing, and they got a new phone. Oh, what do you mean this old cord won't work anymore? I got a zillion of them. So do I. What do we do about it? I said, tie your gift wrap up with it. What are you going to do?
Right. Well, it's just amazing because, like, I remember like 95, Windows 95, right? Plug and play, right? That was the
Yeah.
PNP, the standard, right? Like it wasn't really hardly ever plug and play, I mean, but now today, right, with USB-C, right? I mean, like it seems like just about everything is plug and play, right? I mean, like, are you like installing like device drivers very often, or is that really just not a thing anymore?
It's not as bad as it was, for sure. Printers, again, that is the biggest thing right now. Printers and scanners still need drivers. And especially with Windows, when you plug it in, I had one with a brand new HP computer and a brand new HP printer. And Lord knows when I went to install the driver error failed. Driver error. HP Smart couldn't install it. I mean, some of these manufacturers, I don't know what they're thinking when they create this stuff. Apple, I think, does a better job of it. Macs usually see it right off the bat, but they have to know how to use their Wi-Fi, make sure both devices are on this same Wi-Fi, that type of thing. There's still a little bit of a maze to get through with some of these peripherals. Overall, things are plug and play, and when they're using their phone, they don't real worry too much. As long as they're on the Wi-Fi, I showed them how to print using your phone, and they love it. Now they don't even need cables; they can print from anywhere.
Right. Do you find yourself spending a lot of time like with router issues and stuff like that, or is all that and got to be pretty plug and play as well?
That's gotten a lot better. That's gotten a lot better. The hardest part about any network for them, the hardest part is passwords. What's your Wi-Fi password? What's my what? Your Wi-Fi password. What's that? Okay, let's go to the beginning here. And a lot of times I have to recover these things. I actually have to break into their modem or find another way to find that password so they can connect. That's
Right.
been a bit of a problem.
Right. Well, then there's I mean, there's a Wi-Fi password, but then there's like the ISP, if you even call them ISPs anymore, right? Like what's your Comcast
Oh boy.
login and password, right? And all that. But
Yeah.
speaking of passwords, like that's obviously very important. And I use the same password over and over again.
Oh,
I'm
Deb,
so
I'm
bad.
surprised.
Right.
I'm surprised. Okay.
Do you find people getting hacked a lot because they're using their same password, or what can you tell us about that?
Well, no, they're not getting hacked too much at all. I keep telling my clients it's not that their computers are getting hacked. The one password that's really important is your email because it's the email boards that are getting hacked. And these scammers and spammers are throwing thousands of passwords at the board each day. They know they're going to find one or two, and then they're in and they start to prey on their vulnerability. What I teach them is how to create a really hack resistant password. I emphasize special characters, numbers, upper and lowercase letters, no words. These are the things that keep them safe. I've had very few, but I'm sorry to say there have been one or two types of big hacks where they've convinced them they should send $20,000, $30,000, go buy gift certificates. One of my clients, she was on her way to the store to buy gift certificates, and I just don't do that. Okay. I said, go home, have lunch, be good. I'll take care of it. But passwords are your first and only line of defense when it comes to the hack process of an email. And I said, if you create, like if you do, I'm in a New York state of mind, and you do like an exclamation point for the I use threes for ease. I do things like that. Creating passwords with no words, I don't get that too much anymore. I did in the beginning, but not now. Not from my
Right.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my passwords they generally have like like threes for ease. I shouldn't tell everybody all my password secrets, right? But
What was that again now?
but but also like there's all these like these new pass keys, right? Have you seen this? The pass keys that the browsers come up with. Like, is that something people can or should use, or what's the story there?
Yes, passkeys are are a big leap away from passwords, and I'm actually joyful about it. Believe it or not, it's just within the past few months actually started implementing that into the course curriculum. So now we are doing live passkey demonstrations. Once I explain to them what a passkey is, and how they wear it every day. So, they're safe and there's no password to remember. Ah, that changes everything. And now all of a sudden they're embracing passkeys. So I'm really just getting into that now where I'm actually pushing how to sign up for a passkey. I wish more websites would start endorsing them and utilizing that technology. They're starting to. I'm seeing it more and more all the time. But it has to be consistent. And I've showed them how their phone can now get them into a website where before they needed a password they didn't even know.
Right, but with a passkey, like you do have to log on one time or whatever with your password. Is that right? Is that how that works? And then it asks you for a passkey, which is like a hashed, something or other of your face or fingerprint or whatever.
Well, the good news is if you have the phone or pad already, it knows your face. Your facial recognition is already there. That's what opens the device. So now all I have to do is teach them how to use their cameras to aim at a QR code, which allows them to say, okay, use the phone. They click on the phone. Now the phone camera turns on. It opens up. It sees their face. The phone sends a message back to the website, hey, open up for this person, and they're there. So it's not a huge learning curve. The steps are simple, and it gets the job done. Yeah.
Well, what about like password managers? Because like a lot of sites don't support passkeys, obviously, right? So like, do you recommend people use password managers, and are there particular password managers that are better for older adults than other password managers?
Um, this is where I'm going to step into a landmine, I know. All your listeners are probably going to go, he's nuts, but I'll tell you what, I'm addressing the senior population. Okay? And password managers, I sure don't badmouth them very often. I think they are handy for the right people. But for my group of people, the best thing they can use, believe it or not, is paper and pen.
Really?
Yes, because to use a password manager, um, there's too much room for erroring out on those things. They do make mistakes. You do need a password sometimes to get into the password manager, to set them up. And password managers have been breached a couple of times now. They're not as safe as a lot of people think. Because these people are living in senior residential buildings, is somebody going to take the time to break into that building, walk past the receptionist, go up to an apartment, break down that door, get that piece of paper with the passwords? Oh, there it is. Now I can get into Mrs. Smith's bank account or whatever. It's not going to happen. Okay. Now let's start a scenario with their day. If somebody calls and all of a sudden they need a quick password, and all of a sudden they're fighting to get that password because the password manager isn't displaying that password versus writing it down. I say scotch tape it to your desk. And that way, when they come in, oh, there it is. I see right on my desk. There's the password. Here it is. They can get through that emergency without having a bad day. So it's a rough one. It's a real landmine for me, but I'm keeping it simple for my seniors, and it's worked for them.
But are they reusing the password right? I mean, like, because the password manager, like, it makes a password for you, and you have the master password, which oftentimes is a Face ID or a touch ID to like undo it.
What if you can't access that? What if there's more steps involved in accessing the password manager in some cases than there is just by looking at a piece of paper? I'm thinking of their well-being first, more than the password, you know, that they can get to this information. I firmly believe that the seniors should not be in the credit card or banking business, that they should have their families looking after them. If they don't have that ability and they do want to go electronic, then I say do this. Get a USB stick, create an Excel spreadsheet, put your passwords into that, keep your stick in your drawer, plug it in when you need the password, and then unplug it, disconnect. But if I can keep them offline with their credentials, I feel better about it.
Right. Well. Speaking of credentials, unfortunately, sometimes people like have strokes or they die or they, something bad happens. What are the best practices so that a, surviving spouse can access all that? I mean, do you run probably run, I mean, do you run into those a lot where somebody passes away or becomes incapacitated and then they can't share like the bank account password to get in and pay the bills?
Yes. These accounts have become what is known as digital assets, and they should now be part of your last will and testament and in your trust. These things are so important now because there is a lot of fraud going on. Death certificates are public information. Scammers and spammers know this, so they wait for people to die, get that, and then they start working on the family. In regards to the passwords, again, if it's a password manager, does the family know how to get in and get to those passwords? They're just cryptic passwords anyway. Will they get in? Do they know all the everything they need to know to access them? If it's on a piece of paper or on a USB stick, things get a lot easier. In my situation, when my mom passed away, I was so thankful. She had a whole file in her desk, passwords. I was able to go in that day, not the thing I wanted to do, but I was able to go in and close those accounts. Once you close the accounts, things are good again. But that is the danger of what happens when a senior passes away and their family needs to get in and deal with this. In many cases, they don't even know where to begin to get this information. I want it up front and center. It's not like these people are controlling Fort Knox or something where they're very much in demand for that password. These are just simple accounts that need to be closed.
Right, but do you find a lot of times though that because when you hear about like elder abuse, right, a lot of times it's the family who's abusing the elder, right? And a lot of times it's maybe a errant grandchild or whatever, like stealing money from grandma, right? And if they know, like, oh, their Wells Fargo, password is taped under the keyboard, right? I mean, like, do you see that happen?
I haven't, but you bring up a good point. That's true. I don't have the answer for everything. Is there an answer for everything? And still, couldn't that person also get a hold of that password through the password manager or something? They still could get it if sounds like they're in the know, that type of thing. There's going to be circumstances and conditions somebody can always work around. But we've
Right.
got to the common denominator here and say, okay, this is something that I know will serve the senior through their life, and that the family who survives can go in and deal with this and not have to have a whole situation because they can't find or they can't get in, that type of thing.
Right. Now, there are some like specialized like senior computing devices, right? Like a grand pad right? Like a grandpad is what? Is that an Android tablet that's like has a skin
Yeah, the
for seniors? Are
jitterbug.
those any good? Do you recommend them?
Yeah, yeah. In certain cases, once the senior moves into assisted living, that type of thing, or there's, I hate to say the things like Alzheimer's or some sort of debilitating disease, but they still want to stay in touch with their family. That's when I really push these types of phones and products. Yes, they are useful for that certain audience. I will say that the audience I work with, an independent living, very rarely needs or uses that type of device because, as simple as it is, it's quite limiting too. But for your own information and for your listeners, did you know that the iPhone has what is known as senior mode? You can turn that on and it will look a lot like a jitterbug where it just has 4 or 5 squares and you just email, phone, yeah, texting, that type of thing.
Oh, really? I didn't know that iPhone has a senior mode, huh?
Mhm.
And so, but you mentioned a jitterbug. What is a jitterbug?
A jitterbug is put out by, what's the name of that company? I'm so sorry, I'm having a mind blank, but it's put out a Great Call. That's it. Puts out the jitterbug. It's its own phone. They use the Android operating system, and it for what it is, it's okay. I've worked with a few of them. I haven't really ran into too many people who are happy with them. But again, it's that really quick access to all the basic functions that a person would want without having to really think about all the different icons and moving things around.
Right, right on. All right, so you mentioned that you do classes. Do you do at like a assisted living communities? Do you do classes virtually, like online classes, or is all your stuff done in person?
All my stuff is done in person at this point. If I were to, my plate is pretty full. I'm a one-man show. If I were to get some help putting these things together, I might be willing to do something online. But right now, I'm really happy delivering with people because when I give these classes, the questions come fast and furious. You never know what is going to be the focal points or what's going to be the one instigator of something that's going to say, they don't understand this, give me more. And you can't always address that in a video. So I can give introductions to and things like that, but I haven't done it yet.
Right. Well, Curtis, you are in Silicon Valley, so haven't any VCs approached you about making you not a one-man show, like franchising the model? I mean, like the need for what you do, it's not only in Silicon Valley, it's everywhere in the country and literally everywhere in the world.
It's the whole world, and this service is needed so much. Yeah, well, I started late in life with this my own company, and it's I'm a techie, Seb. I do very well with the tech world. The business world, I think I would need somebody with a little more finesse to help me get through that chapter. Yeah, I'm. Let
Well,
yeah.
if I find a VC, if I run into one somewhere, I mean, like, is
Please,
that I mean, because this is a real need, right? I mean, this is a
it
real
is.
need that people have, right? I mean,
It is.
because it's we began our conversation by you saying that people are using that seniors are using this technology to communicate, and like we know that like loneliness is one of the biggest killers of seniors, actually, right? Is loneliness, and anything that can help them be more connected, be less lonely, is something that's going to extend their lifetime and give them a higher quality of life, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
like it's really important. Are there like national organizations or companies that do this kind of thing that you're aware of? That if someone's watching this in, like I don't know, Chicago or something like that, are there like other models everywhere else in the world or?
I've ran into a few people, very few and far between. I have two similar organizations here in the Bay Area that do what I do, and I found one in Phoenix, Arizona. But you're right. I mean, I haven't seen many at all. I don't know if the VCC, the real business opportunity there. Yeah, the seniors, some of them have money, a lot of them don't. They're on fixed incomes, and it would take some real front running of money to make something like this happen, and then what's the return? Yeah, as seniors pass away and the new generations come in, they're already trained. They're hardwired on this stuff already. We're dealing right now with an audience who was born before all this was around. But as this starts to diminish, I don't know what the need or this call is going to be for this service. That's something I've been thinking about a lot.
I'm going to push back on that there, Curtis, because my parents, I mean,
Yes,
they are the ones who bought me my Apple II in 1981 or 2 or whatever
right,
year that was. They've been
right.
using technology for 45 years, right? And they still call me for technical support and
Yeah.
questions about scams and stuff like that. They are not like people who never used a computer. We grew up with computers in the house, and okay, well, they got their computers when they were in their like they're 40 or whatever, right? But
Yeah.
but they were big hardcore users of computers this whole time, and they are on their devices. I think that technology changes so fast. It's like me, like I barely use passkeys. I mean I don't even know how they work. I mean I have a passing familiarity with the interface, but like the technical underpinnings of like passkeys, I'm really not familiar with them, and so like it's even starting to get away from me a little bit, So I think there's going to be a need for this for a long time. Maybe when AI comes around and like there'll be like AI, like virtual entities that can like do everything for you and answer all your questions, but I think that there's going to be a need for this for a long time. But speaking of money,
Hmm.
because VCs, they love money, right? Everyone loves money. How much does it cost to hire you to have to drive across the valley and go help someone out, right? You might spend an hour just getting there, right? I mean,
Well,
like, so
the
how,
traffic
how,
is getting worse, no doubt about it. Yes.
so how,
Um,
how, how do you charge? Like, if I want to have Curtis come over and help me, like, troubleshoot my email, right, which
mhm.
is critical, right? Maybe
You
I,
bet.
maybe I
Yeah.
need to get an email and it's not coming through. What's it going to cost me, Curtis, to have you come out and help me out?
Well, the cost factor always gets to be a real difficult play. It depends upon the cost of gas and insurance, and everything is going up in price. You know that to run this business. But I try to do my seniors a favor. I do have a flat rate that I charge for 1 hour minimum upon arrival. But then what I do as a gift to them is I start billing to the half hour after the first hour. So this is something that I think helps them a lot. You'll pay a little less than just shy of $100 for an hour in the beginning, and then, like I said, I go to the half hour. For classes, I make my arrangements with each of the senior residential centers, and we find a fair price for that class.
Well, that's very reasonable. I mean, like everything costs $100 an hour, really. These days. I mean, you live in a very high cost of living area, so that's very a reasonable amount of money to pay. And I don't know that. I mean, anywhere else. I mean, like if you have like Geek Squad from Best Buy come over, right? Which, that's expensive, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a lot of money.
Very costly now. And about every year and a half or so, it just I have to increase things a little bit to meet the demand. Uh, but it's not a very high profit margin on this business, Seb. I'll tell you, I got a feel for these seniors. They're all on fixed incomes. They're living in these residential. The cost of living there alone is skyrocketed. So I want to be there for them. There's a lot of this is a labor of love, and I love giving to them.
Right, right. Well, that really comes through. I certainly picked up on that you love what you're doing, and
Yeah.
also I love how you said that like I like to be there person to person, right? Like I don't want to be just a face on a screen, right? Because I think that like so much gets lost, right? I mean, like so much is lost just by having this LCD between us as opposed to actually being in person. So Curtis, if people wanted to get a hold of you, like, and I would think that like if there's any older adult children who are like anywhere in or around Silicon Valley and they're like they can't help their parents out with their tech needs, right? Like you're the
Mhm.
guy to call. How can people get a hold of you?
Well, first of all, there's always my website, uh, SeniorsSavvy.com. Don't forget there are two S's. Seniors is plural, so SeniorsSavvy.com. Also, my phone number in the 650 is 776-8395. Call me direct. Send me an email, send me a text message. I respond to everybody as soon as possible. But
All
those are
right.
the
You
ways.
love texting. You love texting. You're a texter.
Texting, email, voice, all good. I speak to a lot of my seniors by voice, and it really makes a difference. Just hearing my voice a lot of time calms the soul, relieves their nerves, and they're ready to take care of business together with me.
I'm feeling a lot calmer too after having just spent an hour with you. But before we go, Curtis, is there anything that I should have asked you, but I failed to ask you?
No, you covered it pretty well. I would just say for the kids and grandkids working with the people, um, patience is your number one asset when doing that. It's hard. If people will understand that seniors and even me sometimes, it's like I don't get it. Don't force it down their throats. Be patient, work with them. Once you remove the fear of something, of a product or a device, they'll embrace it more than you can possibly imagine.
All right. Patience is, after all, a virtue. All right. Well, Curtis, hey, man, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I got a lot out of it, and I know that there's a lot of seniors and a lot of families out there, I think, who will also benefit from this as well. So thanks so much, Curtis. I appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me, Seb. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to meeting all your listeners whenever it's possible.
All right. Well, I'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks, Curtis.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, that's a wrap for this episode of 60 Plus Uncensored. Huge thanks to Curtis Golden with Senior Savvy for joining me on this episode. And as always, if you got something out of this episode, share it with someone you know who needs to hear it. Subscribe, leave a review, and come find us at team60plus.com. I'm Seb Fry. Stay strong, stay curious, and I'll catch you on the next episode of 60 Plus Uncensored.
Subscribe now